welcome to another Star Wars Legion painting tutorial. For this tutorial we're going to go over painting the fleet troopers, and the first thing we're going to do is start with Vallejo model color beige red, and for that we're going to paint all of the skin, the face, the neck, the hands, and anywhere else that you see skin. We're going to now start working on the undershirt, and for that I'm going with Vallejo Game Color Charred Brown. The next step here is to start with Vallejo Game Color Khaki, and we're going to go ahead and paint the jacket with this color here. Now we're going to paint the pants and the tops of the jacket with a 50-50 mix of Vallejo German Camo Beige World War II and Vallejo Game Color Leather Brown. Again, this is a 50-50 mix, and you can get away with just one thin coat to take advantage of these zenithal highlights, or if you want a little bit more coverage, you can do a second coat. Moving on to Pro Acryl Black, I'm going to use this to paint the boots and the front portion of the helmet. You'll see I actually forget that for a little while, but I go back and paint that. So just make sure while you've got the paint out to go ahead and get that all painted up. And while I'm here, I'm also going to use that Pro Acryl Black for the stripes on both of the legs here of the Commander. Next, we're going to move to the metallic areas for this mini, and I'm doing a 50-50 mix of Pro Acryl Coal Black and Vallejo Model Color Gunmetal Gray. I'm going to be working on the pistol. He's got some insignia on his chest, and I'm going to also be using that for his belt buckle. And then the front of the guns have a wider tip. So for that I'm coming in with Vallejo Game Air Silver and just working on just the tips of the guns. Now we're going to come in and start working on the belts and the chin strap. For that, I'm using Vallejo Model Color Flat Brown. And ta-da! It's magic! The front of his helmet has somehow turned black. As you can see, I realized at some point, hey, I should probably paint that while I'm here. Now I'm going to finish the rest of the helmet, and for that I'm coming in with Vallejo Model Color White Gray. This may take a few layers, but I actually prefer not to use white. I prefer this white gray, and using white for just highlights. All of my stormtroopers and clone troopers I actually have used in this white gray color. And as long as you go in with a few layers, it actually, to the eye, looks white, and it covers a little better than just plain white. So now we're going to go ahead and start washing the mini, and for that I'm doing 1 part Agrax Earthshade, 1 part Vallejo Game Color Black Wash, and then 2 parts Citadel Lamia Medium. And I'm going to take this and wash all over the jacket, the shirt, the pants, and anywhere that has cloth on it. If you want to wash the chin straps, you can. It's a little too close to the skin color for my taste, and you really won't notice much of a difference there. The Lamia Medium will actually cut down on the opacity here to make it a little bit more opaque, so it's not quite as thick. It'll flow into those recesses a little better and make our job of highlighting just a little bit easier. And now I'm going to come in with that Vallejo Game Color Black Wash, and for this I'm going to be washing the weapons and the boots before we go ahead and do some highlights on those. Next I'm coming in to wash the skin, and for that I'm using Reichland Flesh Shade. And again, you just don't want this to pool on any of the flat areas. You want this to get into the recesses, especially in the fingers, on both the offhand and the pistol hand. Now we're going to come in and start highlighting the skin, and we've got Vallejo Beige Red for that model color, Vallejo Model Color Basic Skin Tone, and then Vallejo Game Color Pale Flesh. And I'm just going to start adding the basic skin tone in a few stages until I feel that the skin is at a level that I like. And then I'm going to come in with that pale flesh and start to really hit some of the more extreme highlights, you know, the knuckles, the ridge of the nose, the cheekbones, anywhere that you think there would be more light on the subject. Now I'm going to come in and start to dry brush the weapons with Vallejo model color gunmetal gray. Doing my best to stay away from the tip of the gun, however, we're going to come in and dry brush that with some silver here in just a second. Look at that! It's like I knew what was coming up next in the video, so here's that silver as well. And again, we're just doing a dry brush over the very tip of the gun. You can use this on the belt buckle if you want to as well to have it shine a little more, and also on the insignia on his chest. Next I'm coming in with that Vallejo game color khaki, and we're going to start to highlight the pants and the jacket, leaving that wash that we did in the deepest recesses. You want to hit the folds that you have, especially on the pants and the jacket, and anywhere that you feel there would be more light. And here I'm going to take that game color khaki and add some Pro Acryl Bright Ivory. And I'm going to start hitting a lot of the edges, on the pockets, some of the folds on the arms, just to add a little bit more definition to some of those edges. And I'm going to work on that top portion of the jacket with the base color that we had before, just coming in here, leaving most of the recesses highlighted with that, or I'm sorry, shaded with that Agrex Earth shade mix that we did earlier. And then I'm going to come in with some of that bright ivory and hit the places that I want to be the brightest, the tops of the shoulders or any of the folds that are in that little patch on top of the jacket. Now I'm coming in with Vallejo Game Color Charred Brown, Vallejo Game Color Leather Brown, and Vallejo Model Air Khaki Brown to start working on that undershirt. My most extreme highlight is going to be that khaki brown, so I'm going to just start adding the charred brown and the leather brown to get a nice mix, and then gradually adding that Game Air Khaki Brown to get some of the shirt a little lighter. Now we're going to start highlighting the boots, and we're coming in with that Pro Acryl black and adding some Vallejo model color gray green. Try to get some of the ridges and lay the base work down for some of the light reflections that we're going to be working on the very tips of the boots. Now I'm going to come in with some pale gray blue. This is going to be almost an entirely pale gray blue with just a little bit of that previous mix added to it to tone it down just a little bit. But what I'm doing here is looking for areas where I feel that the light would be reflecting off of these nicely shined boots before Vader comes through the hallway. And with that, we're actually going to be done with the commander for the fleet troopers. Base him on whatever base you would like to do. Obviously do a varnish, and after I did a varnish, I did a Citadel art coat on the front of his hat to give it that sort of glistening shine that you see. And then here we're going to just start working on the rest of the troopers. It's pretty much all going to be the same here. Vallejo beige red for the skin on every single trooper, and you want to get your face, your neck, your hands, and just if you batch paint, it's easy just to do them all at once and do the same area. And here I changed it up to how I normally paint. I don't know how I like this. Let me know what you prefer. So I'm going to do every single piece in one motion. So I'm coming in with the Reichland Flesh Shade to shade down all of the skin areas that we already painted. And then I'm going to come back like I did with that commander, the same sort of skin tone shading. That beige red, the basic skin tone, and the pale flesh, and just start hitting the higher areas of the skin, and finishing off with some extreme highlights of that pale flesh for the bridge of the nose and some of the knuckles. Now we're going to start working on the weapons, and the same sort of mix that we did before, that Pro Acrylic Coal Black and Vallejo Model Color Gunmetal Gray, working on all of the weapons, any of the belt buckles that you may see, and depending on how many layers you want to do on the weapon, how dark you want the weapon, or how light you want the weapon, you can do 1 to 2 to 3 coats. The more coats you do, obviously, the darker the weapon is going to be. And now I'm going to come in and paint the very tips of all of those guns with that Vallejo Game Air Silver. Now I'm coming in with that Vallejo Game Wash, Black Wash, to wash down all of the weapons and give them a little bit of grime. And here I'm going to start dry brushing the weapons with just that Vallejo Model Color Gunmetal Gray. You obviously don't have to do the dry brush. If you like the way it looks now, you can go your own way and do however you want to highlight your weapons. And now I'm coming in with that Game Air again, that silver, to just dry brush the very tips of all of these guns. Now it's time to start working on the boots and the front part of the helmet. So again, for that, coming in with the Pro Acryl Black and just painting up the boots and the helmet. Now I'm going to start working on the undershirts for the troopers, and for that I'm doing Vallejo model color German camo bright green. The reason I went with green is because I already have a squad that are in the blue shirts, and going with the green makes them that much easier to distinguish on the tabletop. Obviously you could go with all the same color for your different troops, but I find it much easier to figure out who's who with a simple change in the models. Now I'm going to come in and shade all of the shirts with Citadel Quelia green shade. Coming back in to re-highlight those shirts with the exact same base color that we used previously. Now I'm going to add Pro Acryl bright yellow green to that mix. As you can see here, it's just a little bit lighter. You don't have to go with the specific color. You can obviously do any sort of color you want, but with this here I want to hit the edges and some of the folds on the shirts. Now we're going to work on the straps and the belt buckle. For that, using Vallejo model color flat brown. I'm also going to use this for the holsters on the heavy weapons units. Next, I'm going to do a 50-50 mix of Vallejo Game Color Cold Gray and the Pro Acryl Coal Black. And for that, we're going to just start painting up the pants and making sure we get nice coverage on the pants. Now I'm going to add in just a few stages Vallejo Game Color, that cold gray, the same one that we're using, just to start highlighting any of the folds in the pants, anywhere where I feel the light would be hitting the legs and making it brighter. Now I'm going to start working on the jacket, and for that I'm using a Pro Acryl Dark Neutral Gray, and you just kind of want to come over and get your coverage on the jacket. We've been painting for a while on this one now, so you know exactly what we're doing at this stage. And here I really want to tie in the pants and the jacket. So I'm adding cold gray into that dark neutral gray in a few stages until I decide that the highlights are good enough for me. But you don't want to go too high or too bright with this highlight. You do want the zenithal prime to kind of show through and already start highlighting a little bit of your jacket for you. But just come in and get your edges and anywhere that you feel you want to add some more definition. As before, we're going to start painting the helmet and the front of the helmet and the chin guard on the chin strap. And for that, I'm coming in with Vallejo model color white gray. And after that, you are done. Congratulations on painting your fleet troopers. Throw them on whatever sort of base matches your army or whatever base you would like them to be on. And you have a squad of fleet troopers ready to march down the field. Hopefully you found this tutorial helpful. If you did, give it a like, comment, share, subscribe, the normal YouTube algorithm things. And until the next time, thank you very much for joining me on this painting tutorial, and we'll catch you later. Bye, guys.